Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's comedian Edgar Rivera, and I'm joined today by my brothers, comedian Eric Nieves and Dr. Dan Radner, and you're listening to Brothers in Arms, yo, a new way for men to talk. What's up, brothers?
Good to see you, Edgar. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Edgar. Dr. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, but I don't know if Edgar's doing better than us or worse because he just got back from vacation.
Dude, I want you to know this is all lighting. This is all yellow lights to make it seem like I actually have a tan. No, but I had vacation. It was awesome, man. It was a week in Puerto Rico. I got to see family. This is the first time I go to Puerto Rico with friends. You know, I never take anyone. So when I go up there, I'm from the mountains. You know, I spend time with grandma. I don't do nothing. This time around was like nonstop. So I got to do a lot of things that I've never done before, like hang out at rivers. I never really gone to the river. And it was amazing, man. But you know, now back to reality, back to work, and back here with you guys, man. How you been, Dr. Dan?
I've been great. As you know, Greg. So Greg and I have been working nonstop. So there's just times where I'm like, where am I? What's happening? I just go where I'm pointed, and here I am. And it's funny because this is a fun part of my work. I shift gears a lot. You know, I'm either working with somebody personally, or I'm doing a podcast, or I'm talking with you guys, or I'm sometimes talking about sports, or then I go to pick up my kids. I'm just one thing, then next. Here I am.
That's good.
I'm
That's
here
good,
with you.
man. That's good. I'm glad that this is the fun part of it, man. What about you, Eric? How you been, brother?
I've been doing good, man. I actually had a show recently that it felt as close to pre-pandemic normal as possible. Like it was a full crowd. Everybody was there. It was a Monday night of all nights, but the joint was packed and everybody was having a good time. No one seemed concerned about distancing. I don't know if to feel good or bad about that, but it was just a nice snapshot of what life was and what I'm hoping it gets back to again. It was a nice feeling because, some of these shows during the pandemic, it's almost like the Walking Dead, man. You see tumbleweeds going by. It's a little spooky.
Yeah. So you did Havana, I'm assuming. I love it.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're staying busy. That's what's up, man. I love it. I think comedy for comedians, we have to it's like starting fresh all over again, for most of us. If you haven't done it in so long, like getting back out there, and it's good to hear a story like that where you could tell, like you could feel remotely close to where it used to be because it's so difficult nowadays, man. But I'm happy to see you back on stage, brother.
This is making me think I should jump on stage because I have no disadvantage from all the professionals.
Definitely.
So you would have no idea if it was bad or not. You could do one of your songs. Now that I've sampled some of your music, you like the Stephen Bishop of our time. Okay, so we have to. It's pretty cool. Edgar, just real quick to jump on something you just said. Like, how it's a rebirth for the way comedians feel like they're going back to life. Mm-hmm. I think everybody is going to go through some semblance of that as we kind of reintegrate to society and come out of our deep freeze. I think that's going to be a common theme for a lot of people are just having to readjust. And, they'll get back to it because it's like riding a bike. You'll never forget. But I think everybody's going to go through a lot of adjustments.
Definitely, man. Definitely will. And I think, Dr. Dan, getting back to your point, I think which is one of these days when everything is like a little close to normal, we'll do one of these shows live, in front of an audience.
I love that.
That would be great, right? We could sit down in front of an audience, do a Brothers in Arms live, and then after that, we could give Dr. Dan his first 5 minutes on stage, Eric.
Oh, I like it.
Wait a minute. Dr. Dan had only his 5 minutes on stage of comedy because he's been on stage doing other things, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but it'll be comedy. It'll be his first. Okay, I'd be Dan. You down to break your comedy barrier with us?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I have a lot to say.
Look at his face, dude. He
looks excited.
Yeah, and then he can sing a song. You can sing a song. We'll be the chorus behind him, Eric. Whatever the song is.
Listen.
Well, I'll send you the clip. I don't know. Did you get to hear the clip that he sent us?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I'll do the part. I'll sing the part where I say you go far, and then you jump in later and say you're a star. So we can kind of bounce off each other.
You're a star.
I do have to at some point. We can't take up too much showtime on this, but I do at some point have to hear what you thought about it. I mean, this is my version of comedy. I put it out there. But what we're actually here to discuss are men talking about mental health and that sort of thing. So I heard you guys are gathering questions, and I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. Let's do this, Eric.
All right. Well, Dr. Dan, I have a question for you. In my opinion, I think one of the most important things that you can get out of therapy, and what's good for your mental health is self-esteem, right? Would you agree that it's important? Self-esteem is an important factor in mental health and wellness. So
I think it, in many ways, it is the most important thing, but it's also very misunderstood. Like, and that's something just to say that when people think about self-esteem, they just think about like liking yourself, but that's not actually what it is. It can relate to self-criticism. It can relate to, very subtle things that you might not like about yourself. Like maybe you like yourself a lot and you think of yourself very highly because you're thinking of yourself in the lights that you're used to thinking of yourself. But then you get into a different situation and you don't feel good about yourself. And so a lot of it is about getting to the details. What are you actually feeling about it? But do I agree that it's important? It's at the top. Absolutely.
Well, then you're kind of actually making my point real quick. I'm sorry, Edgar. Go ahead and
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
because my question was, were there certain aspects of self-esteem that men pursue that may actually do more harm than good as far as their mental health? Are we focusing on the wrong things as far as self-esteem as men? Are there things we should be focusing on more, focusing on less? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. I'd say the main thing that I think about that is I don't actually think it's necessarily the case that people are pursuing real self-esteem and that's bad. What I think is happening more is people are pursuing things they think are feeding self-esteem that aren't. As an example, to be a man and be like, I'm the toughest guy on the block and, nobody can mess with me. That's not real self-esteem. That comes from insecurity, actually. So it really depends what's driving it. If the thing that's driving it makes you feel good about you and it impacts society in a good way, that's good. So I think that's what you're getting at, though, Eric, is like, what is it? What does it do to people when they pursue false self-esteem? That's my way of saying what I think you're asking. Is that vibing with what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it does. Edgar, what do you think?
Man, I'm like I'm looking at both of you guys, and I'm like self-esteem. I'm thinking about my self-esteem, and
no, then that's a good point. Let me ask you, what builds your self-esteem? What do you think of the building blocks of your self-esteem as a man, as a person?
As a comedian, man, I want, as a comedian, as a person, I want everyone to like me. I want to be likable. I want to be funny, and what builds my self-esteem is, feeling great about myself as much as I can.
But
without
you know
having
what?
to count on other people to do it for me.
But you know what, Edgar? You made a point a couple shows back, I can't remember when it was, about your comedy and how you wanted to come back from the pandemic and use your comedy more about you. That is an example of what Eric's talking about that would be a good thing. That it would be truly building up self-esteem in a way that isn't just trying to prop you up. Whereas if you're trying to get self-esteem by having everyone like you, that's actually not true self-esteem. Yeah, it feels good, but it would feel better if they like you and they're liking you for you. That's like a much deeper self-esteem. Yeah. And to me, that's at the heart of Eric's question.
And I think this right here is my self-esteem. The fact that we're here together right now, because you thank you for reminding me. And it is true. When I get on stage, after everything that has happened, I want to get on stage and I want to show people who I am. Every day that goes by, I'm not afraid to let people know who I am. I could actually look at someone and see if they like me for who I am, or if they like me for the person they see on stage. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess now that you put it that way, yeah, my self-esteem is showing people who I truly am and stop hiding myself. So that's the reason that we're all here right now. So this is my biggest self-esteem right here.
Yeah, I think we're all getting that from this, because this is a genuine thing. I'll say for me, it's funny you brought up the song before, but like that actually is a part of my self-esteem, not because I want people to like it or I need them to admire me about it, but because it's a part of who I am that gets to shine. And that's why when you were saying, are you ready for comedy? I was like, yeah, I want to do that, because that's a part of me. It seriously is. And one of the reasons that I ended up doing shows like this is that I was spending so much time only on the kind of quiet and empathic side of me, which is totally real and a big part of my self-esteem. Self-esteem comes from letting parts of yourself grow and be part of things. And so it all comes from, are you doing things that really are fulfilling who you are, or are you just trying to look a certain way? Because if you're just trying to look a certain way, that's not real self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. This is a good example. Like when you said the tough guy.
Tough guy. Yeah. I mean, that's one. I was just thinking this actually struck home for me when I first started doing comedy. I wasn't a very confident person when I first started doing comedy, but all of a sudden I was getting all this positive feedback from what I was able to do. But that wasn't a real sense of self-esteem. That was just narcotic of being.
It could be accepted. A mix though. It could be a mix though, because maybe it was the beginning of something that did give you self-esteem. Like you became a very competent and then confident comedian. That's real. Yeah, but that took years. I'm talking about like that took years when I knew the difference between, doing it for myself and just doing it for the reaction I got. Yep.
That's the difference, is that, okay, now I know I just love being funny. I've always been able to do it, and it's given me a sense of self-esteem and confidence, but it's not, I don't need it to have confidence. But that took a long time. When I first started, I don't know about you, Edgar, but
listen, it's a good measurement of anything with self-esteem. When I first had kids, having kids can give you self-esteem in a certain way, but it also can really break down your self-esteem, because you're like, the first thing I thought is, oh my God, do I really know what to do? It brought down my self-esteem first. It's only as I've figured out, I feel like I actually know how to do this and this is good. Or, I see my daughter happy, either one of my daughters, but happy because of something that I'm helping them with, or I see them. I get self-esteem from building up their self-esteem is a big part of where I get it now. But it's all about what feels healthy to you. So it's a great question, and I think we should revisit this, but we're going to revisit this always, because when we talk about men in mental health, and really anybody in mental health, self-esteem is at base.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk more about the tough guy thing about it, because I think a lot of men fall into that trap of thinking they need to be the biggest and the toughest, and not understanding the true nature of strength. But we'll definitely get back to this.
Yes. Well, actually, it's a great lead-in.
I think that's how they hide, and
it is, and it's a great lead-in. You guys ready for my announcement of the next segment?
Yes, I am.
Let's go.
It is. All right, it's time for old news, maybe from yesterday. I love how it just made. There's something.
Just go like that, and it just. Oh yes, go ahead, Dr. Dan.
I just love how we all make a face. It doesn't matter. We just all break it to our faces.
The way he goes like that is like we all tilted too. Like yeah.
I know. That's what I mean. We have to have a song. We have to have a lead-in song or some kind of something. We'll come up with something.
We'll work on that.
Go ahead.
So Eric, why don't you take us in, because you came up with this topic, and I think it's a good one, but it relates to how men present and what they're thinking about themselves and how they're represented.
Yep. So, we just talked about self-esteem. Thank you, Dr. Dan, for the intro. And one of the things that a lot of men place their self-esteem on is what they do for a living. I mean, you heard about it from us just now, and the money they make. So I was reading an article a couple of months ago, and the big tagline was 11 celebrity couples where the main breadwinners are female. And I was like, well, why is this an article? But then you think about the traditional roles of men, and, the men are the breadwinners, and they're the ones that are supposed to bring home the bacon and support. But, I find it interesting how if their partner makes more than them, how it can affect certain men differently, and how tradition and culture plays a part in that. But we're really going to have to face it, because I just read an article, I think it was in, was it May of 2021? USA Today, it was the TD Waterhouse did a survey, and 50% of women reported that they either made more or the same amount as their male partners. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, that can't be right. I double checked it. And yes, 50% of women reported that they make either more or the same as their men. So we're looking at a whole cultural change of a dynamic in where the men are the primary breadwinners and the women either support the home or work lesser jobs to supplement the income. So I wanted to put this topic out here to talk about men. How do we feel if our female partner makes more than we do?
Well, the first thing that I was thinking to respond to it is, it's interesting whether we're surprised by this or not. Now, you said you were surprised by it. This is funny, but I was surprised that I wasn't surprised. Like, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. And then I was like, wait a minute. Because I know there's been all this fight for equal pay and all that sort of thing. And also, men do seem to have an investment in feeling like, oh, I'm the one who makes more money. I don't know, though. I really don't know where we stand anymore. Edgar, what do you think?
I want to make a distinction real quick because, and I wanted to make sure I got this stat because I don't want people to confuse it with that this topic that women are now making the same money as men across the board.
Right.
Statistically speaking, women still only make 82 cents to the dollar.
Right.
For what men earn at the same job. So I just want to be very clear that this is a different topic. We're not talking about the equal. There's no disparity in pay for equal jobs. That still exists. What I'm saying is now 50% of women are either equal or making more than their men. So I just wanted to make that distinction before we move on. Edgar, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's important.
I think it's crazy that you guys brought this up because I was in a relationship, Manny, that with and she was way more successful than I was. She was in corporate America, and as a man, I mean, thinking about it now, it just it messes you up because you're like, oh my God, you want to be that breadwinner, you want to be a provider, and she never brought it up. But then deep down inside, in the back of my head, I was thinking, man, how am I gonna provide for this person? Knowing that she's set on this lifestyle, and I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And it's love, but then it was stressful. It was a short relationship, but it was very stressful for me personally because I always felt like I had to catch up. Not only catch up, like be a bigger and better person for this person because of the status that she had. So it's actually hit home for me, And I feel like a lot of men, and it's a good topic because most men don't want to admit this if they are in that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Most men don't want to go out to their man, and then if they do, they're afraid of the heat that's gonna come with it when they're baby. Oh, your wife run the household. This reminds me of the sketch that we did, Eric, with Sarah. Remember how she controlled me and you snapped at me? Because like, oh yeah, your wife runs everything, and that's what probably a lot of men would hide this conversation with their boys and won't talk about it, which is very interesting to me.
I wonder why. I mean, it's funny because I'm the psychologist. You'd think I'd be the one that knows, but a lot of times I have as many questions as anybody else. But I wonder why men do care about that so much. What do you guys think is what are we invested in that makes us feel like that's important? I'm not even speaking for me personally because I don't know that I would feel that way, but.
Well, I think culture has a lot to do with it, depending on how you were raised and the attributes of what a man is supposed to do. I was raised that men were supposed to be the primary breadwinners. I grew up in a Puerto Rican household. Mm-hmm. It was a male dominated culture. So the finance meant power. The finance meant the ability to make decisions, the ability to support a family. Those things were ingrained in me. And even though I know better to a certain extent, like, for example, when I first met my wife, when we were dating, I was making more money than her. But as life turned out, now she makes more than me. And I have to admit, as open-minded as I am about everything, it took me a while to this day, I don't like her to pay for my part when we go on vacations. You know what I mean? Like, only because I don't want.
Why do you feel like that, though?
Well, because I think it's that part of me that came up as a man that, you either pay for yourself, you don't let a woman pay for you, So even to this day, I'm like, if I don't have it to drop for a vacation, I won't do it, And my wife always tells me I'm nuts, and she's like, it's our money, it's our money. But it's a feeling I've never been able to shake, and And it kind of works out in a certain extent, because I know a lot of arguments in relationships are based on finance. When you have joint accounts and all your money is all together, and things can go bad. But I definitely know it's something that it shouldn't sound right. Like if I were a woman, and or and she were the man, and I would be, okay, it's our money, and it would be acceptable to me. If I was making more money, I would probably tell her the same thing that she tells me, it's our money. But I've never been able to shake it. What do you think, Dan? I need therapy.
So I think that every person, we grow up in cultures that believe in certain things. I mean, you can go to completely different cultures where this isn't even the case. There are cultures like that where this is not a value. It's not even something they think about or know. And to me, that's really instructive, because what it means is these are all societal constructs. We think it's supposed to be a certain way, and then it is that way. And we get these messages from everywhere. We get them from TV shows, movies, we get them from books, we get them from talking to people, we get them from jokes. I mean, everywhere funnels us into certain ideas about things. And I've sometimes caught myself realizing, oh, I'm stuck in this mindset, and there's no inherent reason that I need to be in that mindset. So it's something that I do often challenge people in a good way, or offer to them. You don't need to stay in this mindset. Mm-hmm. We're unnecessarily burdening ourselves with that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy that women are making almost as much as men, because if everything is equal, it should be equal all the way around. I just feel just like every household, if your woman is making more than you, I mean, I know your wife personally, Eric. I know your wife is not coming up to you like, I'll make more money.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that?
No.
Not that personally.
Not that personally. Relax.
I'm sorry. I know you. I'm just checking.
I know that your wife is not bashing you, and that's what to me, this whole topic. I think about it that way. I think about the men who are in this relationship, and then it's okay to have a cool wife who be like, oh, you know what? Even though I make more money, everything is ours and everything else. But then there could be women out there who see that as a power, and and they could make their man feel a little more, belittle them because they make more money, and that's where the problem comes in. I mean, personally, I love it when a girl wants to pay. And I'm the same way. I was brought up just like you, Eric. My, Latino household, the man is the provider. The man is the one that pays for everything. And I feel the same way. When I go out, I want to pay for things. But it feels good when a girl offers, like, you know what, I'll pay for half of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only fair, Well,
listen, let's not get this wrong. I don't turn down stuff for my wife. Let's just be very clear that I'm not saying hell to hell with you, stay away from me, I don't want nothing. What I'm saying is I'm always aware of it. And I always keep it in mind. And maybe for two reasons. One, I don't want to take advantage, because I know she's very generous. So I try not to take advantage. And the second thing is, like I said, when we started off, I was the bigger money maker. Mm-hmm. And then the role changed. Because my career had to change for whatever reason. And, I think it was the adjustment of having to return to that spot, I think, is what makes me so hyper aware of it.
But, one other thing I want to add is that I think this actually goes back to some gender roles that are in some ways kind of evolutionary. Like we have this setup where when there's a man and woman together, the expectation that the man, I think, carries with ourselves is evolutionarily, we're the ones who are supposed to protect. And I think in lots of good ways, that's kind of being broken down now. We're not stuck in evolution anymore. We're like, we're organized enough societies that we don't need to think that way. But we sometimes put value on things like money or success and equate it with that same old thing. And I think if we can just not bring that primitive structure to money or success or all those other things, then we can break free. Then we don't have to be stuck in that. So I just wanted to make that point. I don't know what you guys think about that.
That's good. You're absolutely right.
Well, I think I'm going to let my wife pay for the next vacation.
Yes,
As you,
that's a big breakthrough.
I mean, I know it sounds nuts, you know, because my wife tells me all the night, and some of my friends are like, "Are you crazy?" But it's just, you know, I think this is more of an older generational thing. Like, I think the younger generation, this millennial generation, I don't think they're as stuck as.
No, they're not.
You know what I mean? Like, I honestly think that they're more open to, it doesn't matter, because we also are coming up in a time. There was a time when you only needed one salary to live, and that created a dynamic where it was only the man working. Now it's impossible to live off one salary. It can't, unless someone just hyper wealthy, you know, has this amazing living. It takes both to work. So I'm glad that the generation is coming out of it. I think it's going to be, I mean, there's always going to be some element of it. I think it's going to be the older generation that's going to have to make the adjustments. Yeah. Like me.
I feel like in the beginning, when you're dating someone, that's a different thing. But like once you get to that level where you get married and you're married and it's one household, it shouldn't be a problem. You know, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much money you make. As long as we put it together and we make it right, then, you know, no guy out there should feel ashamed of their significant other making more money than them. If anything, brag about it, dude. Brag about it.
And if it truly is something where we're in it together, then live that way.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Let it be that way. So I want us to shift gears because I want to make sure we get breaking the mold in this time. We've been trying to get this in for a while.
We've been trying for a minute. Finally, today is the day, right, Eric?
Today is the day, and you know, and not for nothing, part of breaking the mold, this conversation actually fits into it. The fact that men don't need to make the most money in the relationship. That's breaking the mold.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And not only that, but you know, breaking the mold is all about challenging these ideas. You know, I'm curious about the generations and how we'll all think of this. In our generation, to me, like, is it a big deal for a man now to say, like, one of my top 10 movies is When Harry Met Sally? Because it is. It is one of my top 10 movies. But, like, is that weird? I personally, I don't care. But that's more healthy to get to a place where I really don't care about that. But I remember, like, if I was like 17 years old and you were like, what's your favorite movie? You know, you might be like, oh, I like Scarface, not When Harry Met Sally, you know, like.
Yeah. Commando was mine. Commando was my ultra male favorite movie. You know, right. Meanwhile, I was watching like Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
I just watched that with my girls the other night.
Right? Did you?
Yeah.
They did a remake of it. Did you guys see it? They did a remake of it. It was awesome.
I refuse.
I didn't see the remake and I refuse.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But I think we need to break that mold about that. If men can't love romantic comedies and not get into them, and stop pretending that our wives and girlfriends are forcing us to watch them. We should be able to admit it. Hey, man, I love When Harry Met Sally. I love The Princess Bride.
I think the reason they don't admit it is because we hide ourselves within, you know, from ourselves, you know, as guys, when we hang out together, and you've never heard that in a conversation. There's 5 dudes hanging out, you know, talking, snapping, talking about sports. And I come out of nowhere, I'd be like, yo, one of my top favorite movies is Pretty Woman. Because the way he changed her life was amazing. You know what I'm saying? So no one ever does that, you know. My favorite one, 50 First Dates, you know. And I like a chick flick. And it's sad that in this generation for men, we can't be that open. And that's the reason we're doing this. We can't be that open with each other, man. And we need to be more open with each other. I know a lot of men out there watch chick flicks and they just won't admit it. You know what I'm saying?
It shouldn't even be called a chick flick anymore. I mean, that's
you
part of the problem.
You just made my point, Edgar.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you're still categorizing them. They're motion pictures, sir. Motion pictures. Not for nothing. Like, what would you do first as a man? Would you go outside and say, I just watched a Fast and the Furious marathon? Or would you, when you were really watching a Father of the Bride marathon? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna say Fast and Furious because I think everything we do, we worry about the reaction of others. And I guess if you're surrounded by a bunch of guys and you start bringing up, I love Martin Short's character in Father of the Bride. He was one of my favorites, such a cute movie. They're going to be looking at you like, but
they don't do it themselves. It's just a matter of admitting. I feel like that's the whole reason to this podcast on how we should open up more, man. Let's not be so afraid. And I'm sorry, Eric, I said chick flick. It should be a wee flick.
It should be what? a wee flick.
Yeah, let's watch it together. You know, you watch movies like that by yourself?
Yeah, if I'm flipping channels, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Grease is my all-time. I don't know if that counts as a romantic comedy. It's more of a musical.
think it counts as the kind of thing that, you know, a woman saying she loves Grease, it would be nothing, but it really is the case. If you're in a conversation with a bunch of guys and you're like, dude, you know what I love is Grease. That one could go either way because there's lots of cool guys in it and stuff like that. So it may not be like that, you know.
No, I think when Harry Met Sally would be, it's a.
It
moment.
would. Look, there's no question. It would stop conversation. You have to be willing to say, I'm going to put this right here, like it's a conversation piece, and be like, we're going to talk about this. I like when Harry Met Sally. In fact, I can feel in my like male ethos that the thing that I would have to do is be like, I like when Harry Met Sally. What are you going to do about it? That would be the kind, like the fact that I have to phrase it that way.
What are you gonna do about it?
So that's combining Commando and When Harry Met Sally. It's like, I love When Harry Met Sally. What are you going to do about it? I'll smack you. Get to the chopper. Let's combine the.
I think this week what I'm gonna do is when I'm hanging out with the guys, I'm gonna ask them what their favorite romantic comedy is.
Ask, man.
Movie, and just see the reaction on their faces, because it's true. I mean, I feel like these are things that we don't talk about. It we shouldn't be afraid to talk about, man. There's a great movies. There's a lot of great movies.
Four Weddings and a Funeral. Putting that out.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Love that movie. Love that movie. Notting Hill.
Again and again.
I'm a Hugh Grant fan. I'm sorry.
The Notebook.
Okay. Oh, that one I've never seen.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Is it good?
Oh yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, man.
All right. I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try. My wife. I'll watch it with my wife. No, I'll watch it by myself.
I think
I'm breaking the mold.
I'm a hopeless romantic, so I like to watch these movies, and then hopefully, you know.
But listen, I also want to make the point. You know, we say we're breaking the mold, but really we're actually letting the mold out. Like guys love these things. There's no question. We just won't admit it. You know, and I've always said, no, I'm going to admit it, but no matter how much I admit it, the thing that actually has to do to change this is the teasing. Teasing in a way is important in society. I don't advocate for teasing, but like gentle teasing in the right direction is a good thing. If we tease people about not admitting that they like romantic comedies, men about it, it will change. That's like you change the conversation there.
Flip it around, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, you saw When Harry Met Sally when she pretended to have an orgasm in the restaurant. Don't act like you didn't see that movie, son. I know you saw it. You know how they ended up in the end. Come on, man. Serious.
Actually, you do see this flipping, though. Like, one of my favorite TV shows is Ted Lasso. Have you guys seen this?
No, I've heard good things, though. It's on my list.
Ted Lasso, like, if you like romantic comedies and you like a feel-good story, Ted Lasso, it's not like the kind of thing that's all syrupy and sugary in that, like, it has reality to it. But I just watched a show, and he makes all these references to romantic comedies. There's When Harry Met Sally. There's You Had Me at Hello from Jerry Maguire. There's all kinds of references. And we know these things. Nice. And men are so busy, quoting Terminator 2, but listen, I know a ton of quotes from When Harry Met Sally.
Talking about sports.
Say anything.
Say anything. Oh my God.
I just had a little teenage moment. Say anything, holding the radio above his head.
That one I haven't seen. I have to check that one.
You haven't seen
Say Anything?
Say
Anything?
No, I'm a Latino.
Oh,
okay,
dude,
everybody pause this show. Pause this show. We need Edgar to go watch it.
Exactly. We'll come back in about 2 hours.
You know what I want? I want the listeners and viewers, if you're seeing this right now, man, I want every guy to comment in the bottom and let us know what's your favorite romantic movie.
Good call, Edgar.
That's a cool one. If you're listening right now, you're viewing this right now, I want you to comment right in the bottom and tell us what your favorite romantic movie is, yo.
Yep. Next week's show, we'll talk about the choices that were made and tell you what we feel about them. We probably watched them too.
I've been waiting to do this. I've been waiting to find guys who would actually do this. Glad I found you guys.
Do this. Awesome. And this week I have a show tonight, and I think I'm gonna bring it up tonight. I think I'm gonna experiment this weekend with it and see how people react to the whole romantic. Just come out of nowhere. Be like, yo, dude, remember Pretty Woman? And then just look at the guy's face. He's bound to like make somebody snap on you. And that's how we act as men. We're bound to joke around with each other. We're bound to snap on each other because we're men and we're tough. But it is a good topic, Eric, and you know, thank you for bringing this up because I think we need to talk about it more. So I can't wait to see what people comment, and you know,
And
yeah,
we'll be bringing this back because there's a bunch of ways we could break these stereotypical molds of what is a man, and I think we have plenty of stuff to be breaking the mold in the future. So we'll be back with this.
nice man, nice. So yo, moving forward, yo, great. We on time this week. We're like right on time. I see.
I like
Dr.
this.
Dan.
I like
I
this.
like Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan. I see Dr. Dan looking at the clock. He said, "Yo, we're right on time."
We're right. Hit the button right there.
So that was breaking the mold, man. We've been down to do that, and hopefully we could do it more and more. And like I said, guys, comment on the bottom. Now we're gonna go into the more serious topic and the reason we are all here, which is called walking the walk. And basically, if you're tuning in for the first time, walking the walk is the time that we take to share something with you guys that's bothering us, that has bothered us, something that we hiding inside that most people don't know. And Dr. Dan has done it. I've done it a few times, and it has helped me a lot. It definitely has helped me a lot. In my last walking the walk, I mean, 2 weeks in a row, and now I'm seeing everything more clear, and I'm starting to see how that affected every relationship afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So this week is actually Eric's turn, and I'm really looking forward to it, Eric. So walk the walk, brother.
Yes, walking the walk. So, the interesting thing about this segment, I don't know about you guys, but when we came up with the idea, the hardest part was having to reflect on your past and think about stuff. You know what I mean? And Edgar knows this. Edgar has known me a long time. Dan, I don't know if you know, I don't have children. So a rarity amongst most people, but especially Puerto Ricans. So, I think, back in the day, when I was in my senior year in high school, I was in a relationship. And we broke up because I went away to college. That's what you do when you go away for college. The high school girlfriend kind of gets left behind. So I was up there living my life and, just being a college freshman, I didn't keep in touch as much as I should have. So I get a letter from this girl. And this is, we're talking in a time when letters still existed.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, this is, we're going back. I'm 49 now. I was 18 at the time. So we're talking a long time ago. I got a letter from her, and she told me straight up that she had gotten pregnant, and it was mine. And unfortunately, she ended up in an car accident, and she ended up miscarrying at 7 months. So, at first I was, I didn't believe the letter. I thought, it was just her mad that I didn't call, or I didn't want to stay with her. So, but I called a good friend of mine that we had in common in high school, and he said, yeah, it was legit. And in the letter, she said that she didn't tell me that she got pregnant because she thought I would drop out of school, come home, try to create a family. And she didn't want to do that. So she kept it a secret. But I didn't believe it, It wasn't until I got to see her about a year after that. And we talked, and I believed her, and she did do it to not want to make me go back home, so I respected that. But after that incident, after what had happened, I became hyper vigilant about making sure I didn't get anyone pregnant. Like I was the one pulling condoms out when the other people didn't care. I went as far as to, after I was done having sex, I would fill the condom with water to make sure there were no holes in it, so I couldn't get a follow-up call or response later. And it gave me this perpetual fear of having a baby. And you know, as I got older, I thought that feeling would diminish, and it didn't. It never did. Um, and that's literally the closest I've ever come to being a dad. Like that unknown 7 months, didn't even see her pregnant. And this wasn't someone that I didn't have feelings for. You know what I mean? Like this was someone, like, we actually started going out in the 10th grade, and then she broke up with me for somebody else. And then we got back together my senior year when I was going to a different school. And I was happy to be back with her, you know, and we spent that summer together, and obviously that's when it happened. So a part of me always wonders, like, what if I had kept in touch with her, you know, more frequently? Would she have told me? Would I have gone back? I mean, I just don't know. There's so many directions that my life could have gone, just, you know, just at this one moment. But I reflect now, and I'm like, you know, I know at this point now I'll never be a dad. And I'm not upset by it, but I have to acknowledge that there's always going to be something different about me than the majority of other people. You know, there are certain nuances of life and feelings and stuff that I'll never understand. I'll never be able to speak that language. You know, I can do a heck of a job trying, but if you haven't been a parent, you just don't know what being a parent is. It's just that simple. So I'm not sad about it, but I always wonder what kind of dad. I think I would have been a good one, and a lot of my family close to me tell me that all the time. But I don't regret it. But I guess I'll always have thoughts, and it all goes back to a letter that I received in 1989.
Wow.
That I think changed my mindset. I think it completely changed my mindset, because it just, I don't see how it couldn't have, right? But that was the closest I've ever been to being a dad. It was that.
I wanted to ask a question or two. Edgar, did you have something? I didn't want to.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, man. Thank you, first of all, for sharing, man. I've known you all these years, and I never knew that, you know. And as a friend, I never bothered to really ask you why, Eric, you never had kids. But I wanted to ask you, did was this something from like before? Like, did she know that you didn't want to have kids? Was this a feeling that you've always had?
No, no, it never even came up. And obviously I didn't have that feeling because there were no condoms involved when we were having sex. I mean, we were just having sex, unprotected sex. I didn't even have that mindset. I had feelings for her. I just, you know, so no, I didn't feel that way before that. Like, the thought never didn't even enter my mind, to be honest.
You were both the same age, right? So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I just like I'm looking up to her, how she, and it's weird because you won't find a lot of women that will do this, but the fact that she told you that she didn't want to tell you because she didn't want you to end your career and your schooling, which is very, you know, that was a great, thing for her to do. That was very admirable for her to respect that choice, and it's sad that it happened that way. But yeah, what do you have to say, Dr. Dan?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you also for sharing it. I'm always, when I hear you guys talk about these things, I sometimes think, was my walking the walk deep enough? Because this is deep, Edgar's the last 2 weeks was extremely deep, and we got a lot of comments on it saying that, and I think that this is, in a way, Eric, that reminds me of some of the way that you were empathic to me when I told you about not feeling fully loved until I had my daughter. It's the kind of thing that maybe people wouldn't be fully empathic about, but I was hearing it as a pretty profound experience for you. And maybe in some ways that you don't even fully, totally have processed or know about, but it did leave me wondering a couple questions. And Edgar's question was one of them. But I was also thinking, wow, that's That's a scary thing to happen to a kid your age, right there, in multiple ways. Scary that this could have been going on without you knowing. Scary that it could happen at all. Scary that you basically almost were a dad, whether she had you involved or not. You would have been the father of the child. And then scary that the child was lost also. And so I just found myself thinking, wow, I wonder how this did impact you. And I don't know if you have the answer to this, but I wonder how it impacted your choice to not have kids. Do you think it played a major role, or do you think it happened to coincide but didn't really end up playing that major role? And you might not know the answer to that, but I was just curious.
Well, I honestly think it's the foundation of every reason why I don't want to be a parent. You know, when you're a kid, I remember I had little girlfriends when I was younger, and we would have visions of, we would talk about marriage and kids, like we were going to have kids. You know, I thought it was just a natural thing that you think that growing up. Oh, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, and I mean, this one thing kind of just threw it in my face of, like, you know, I could have had a kid out there and not known it. You know what I mean? And I guess it shook me to my core so much that I just started putting up walls to the idea of parenthood, you know? And those walls never came down. I never wavered from that. You know, when I told, you know, obviously I've told my wife this story, right? Because I told her I was, you know, I hadn't talked about it. It's been so long. And Edgar, I also want to give a shout out to the young lady that I'm speaking of. Obviously, I'm not going to say her name, but she meant a lot to me. And I know I meant a lot to her because of what she did, how she did it. She could have easily been selfish and said, "Nah, you got to come down here and help me with this baby." You know, we were both just getting out of high school.
Yeah, that's mature on her part, you know, for someone to be the same age and say, "I'm not gonna ruin his life." I mean, I'm just concerned about what it did to you, and you know, and how.
Well, when I saw, I got to see her again, and it was really rough to see her. It was between my sophomore and junior year. I made my way down to New York, and I managed to connect with her again. And we talked about it. We cried, you know. At that point, she hadn't had any children yet, but she was in a relationship, which I respected. But, you know, it was rough to see her, you know, because, you know, when I left, we were just two high school kids and had just spent this great summer together. And, you know, then I'm getting a letter about a car accident and a dead child, and that you did it so I could live my life. And I immediately felt guilty for every bit of life I had had up until that point when I got to college, till I read that letter. I felt guilty for enjoying my freshman year of college, leaving behind someone in that position.
Can I ask you something, bro?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what have you done if she would have told you and you would have found out before? Have you thought about that? How would you have left school? Would you have gone back?
I don't know. I don't know. A part of me says yes, I would have gone back. Another part of me knows I would have had to talk about this situation with my mom and my family, and they were not going to just let me give up on something that I worked hard to accomplish. They were really happy that I got out the Bronx. I was not the best high school student, and you know, I was pretty lucky to actually be able to get to college with the way I was handling school. So it'd be interesting to see how that battle would have gone between me and my mother. My mother probably would have insisted I stay in school. And you know, Spanish families, the next thing you know, my mother's good friends with her mother and they're raising the baby together. I don't know. Or I might have quit and transferred to a college in the city, you know, to do both. I don't know, but I know if she had told me, I would have either transferred or quit. I wasn't going to stay where I was at in upstate New York, that far away. If I had known, I wouldn't have. I would have had to go.
I think that answers your question right there. You know, that you would have been a great dad. You know, just the thought of just saying, yeah, I would have. You know, despite everything and your family and everything else. Yeah, dude. I mean, knowing you personally, I think you would have been great. But like hearing this now for the first time, now I'm wondering, was this it? Was this it? This is the decision that you told yourself after this, I never want to have kids.
Let me tell you how strongly I feel about this. And this is a true story. And this is not when I was a teenager. This was when I was, I want to say in my late 20s, early 30s. And I spent the night with a lady, and the condom broke. And I actually told the girl, we're going to Planned Parenthood tomorrow, and you're getting a morning after pill. And she said, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. I said, no, we're getting up. We're going to drive to Planned Parenthood, and you're going to take the morning after pill. And I'll never forget the look on her face, how taken aback she was in that, because she was cool with it. You know, she probably knew that with her cycle that the chances were small. And, you know, I know logically the window period for a woman to conceive is really days, biologically, even though there are exceptions. Like I know that in my head, but in my heart, I said, no, we're going to Planned Parenthood. And I drove her to Planned Parenthood. I went with her. We drove together. We did the appointment. And then we never talked about it again. And I think after that, we didn't talk much at all. But
what I was thinking is that one of the interesting parts of this is you must have feelings about what kind of father you would have been, and whether that's something you would have wanted in some way if this hadn't happened and things like that. Interestingly, I think a lot of the people who choose not to be parents sometimes would have been some of the best parents, because I just want to say that to you, because I really want you to feel that you would have been a great dad. I know that. I know it even in the way you treated me when I told you about some of my hardest things. And I think that you took that sense of responsibility so seriously is a sign of what a great dad you would have been. So speaking of self-esteem, this is something maybe you can carry with you, that you're not like the guy who doesn't have kids and that makes you different. You're the guy with the story of why you didn't have a kid that related to the fact that you take this responsibility so seriously. That's how I'm reading you. I don't know if that feels right to you.
I mean, I appreciate that. I have nephews, and my family always tell me all the time they think I would have been a good dad, but a part of me will always, I don't know what kind I would have been. I know I would have worked hard at it. Whatever type I was, I would have really put effort into it. I feel bad for another part. I feel guilty because I have the ability to have children, or I've had, I can have children, and there are people that cannot for biological reasons who really want them. And, sometimes I feel a little guilty, as if I'm being like selfish, because I don't want the responsibility of taking care of someone else like that and just focusing on me. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I guess I'll always have unanswered questions regarding parenthood. I appreciate your words, Dan. I think a part of me does know that I would have been at least decent. I don't know how good I would have been, but I would have been decent. But I'll always wonder what my life would have, how different my life would have been. Would I have been a comedian? Would I have finished college? Would I have a different career? I mean, so many things change when you have a child, as you know, Dan. You know that how life altering. Edgar, you know this as well. How life altering it is when you're responsible for a life that is totally dependent on you. So,
dude, I'm a grandfather.
That's right.
I'm a grandfather. But you know what, Eric, real quick, because I mean, since I know you personally, I want to take it a little bit deeper. Like, how did it go with your wife? So when you started with your wife, was this a thing that you brought up from the very beginning, and did she feel the same way, or was this like, because I don't know if I'm getting too personal now, but I just
No,
want
no, no, no. You're not, because you can't walk the walk thinking about not telling the truth. Now, I've been married twice. Remember that. This is my
yeah,
second marriage. My first marriage, I was a younger man, and obviously, and my first wife had a hard time with it, and I think she thought, given time, I would break it, and
that was my
I
question.
we ended up getting divorced within a year, because I knew I made a mistake. Not because of the person I chose, but choosing to marry this person at this time. The person I chose was fantastic. The situation and timing I chose were awful. So I made a decision to walk out, with my head up high and just break out. Lynette and I were a little older when we met, and I got to be honest with you. I didn't believe her. She said she thought the same way I did when I told her. I was very straight up. I was like, no kids. And she was like, I feel the same way. And I got to tell you, up until the day we got married, and maybe even 3 years after we got married, I thought she was lying to me. I thought she was lying to me. I thought she was just saying that and writing it out and waiting. I couldn't believe that she felt the same way. And as now the years go by, now I realize that, it was just a really, and it was really a moment of cosmic timing for me to meet this specific woman with the mindset that I have, that she shares. That I don't know what her reasoning is. That's for her to know for herself. The only thing I could ask her is that is she happy with the choice that I made, that I did not want to have children. And she said she was on board, and I'm very blessed that she was, and she proved she wasn't lying. I thought she was lying, Edgar. I said, I thought she was pulling my leg, son. I was like, you get out of here. When are you going to tell me the truth? When are you going to tell me the truth? I was like, I kept waiting. I said, there's no way, because she's Puerto Rican. That's impossible.
Yeah,
She's going to change her mind.
yep, you found another one just like you, and it's a beautiful thing when you can find someone. And it's very hard because in the beginning, you meet people and no, I don't want this, I don't want this, and it's like what I always said, Dr. Dan. In the beginning, we always tell each other what we want to hear when you meet someone. When you're getting to know someone, you always say what you want to hear, and you always, yeah, 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 yeah. I like romantic movies, even though you don't like them, and you still watch them, and So it's a blessing actually that you found someone who feels the same way you do, and that she didn't change, and
She actually felt bad for me when I told her that story. Like a lot of partners will react when you bring up your past, especially if there's a sexual aspect to it, where they'll always kind of have the arched eyebrow. I'm like, really? Are you bringing this up? And she felt my pain. You know what I mean? She felt my pain. Like she knew it bothered me.
There's one other part I wanted to ask about, just because I feel like it might be important in your own story, and I want to know you as best I can in this way, but like, how much of the pain of that story, because it changed your life so much, I don't know if pain is the right word, but how much of the impact of that story was about the responsibility to the woman, and how much of it was the feeling of responsibility that you imagined for this child, or is it both?
Wow. I mean, I think it was the totality of it all, of becoming a family, and the role I would have to play in putting that family together. I mean, I didn't have my head on straight at that age. I'm not sure many.
Who does?
Right. I was 17 when I left for college. I turned 18 during my freshman year. So I was literally 17 years old. But my first thought when I read the letter was her, right? And then the second thought was, and our family, and then I'm thinking, just how am I going to do this? You know what I mean? Or how would I have been able to do this? You know what I mean?
This is the thing, though. I mean, you are a really empathic guy, and you can feel it. And look, I think a lot of comedians are. They felt so much, and often they had an experience that led to comedy. Comedians and therapists, good therapists anyway, don't have too much difference. And I think you were very empathic there. You could imagine your way into that situation, and I could see how it would impact you hugely. But it's really, I'm honored you share it with us, because I can hear how much it impacted you, and how it's not an experience that you necessarily would talk about with lots of people, but it had a big impact.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, dude, thank you. I mean, knowing you personally and how you get on stage and you talk about it and you tell people I'm Puerto Rican, I have no kids, it's a miracle, because it is a miracle. And
it gets laughs.
Yeah, it gets laughs.
To talk about a mixed signal.
Yeah, but thank you for sharing, man. That's what we're here for. That's a walk in the walk. I known Eric for almost 20 years now, and I never knew that. And as a friend, I'm my bad, dude, that I've never really had the time to ask you why. You know what I'm saying? We always joked around about it and everything else, but thank you for sharing that, brother. And honestly, bro, knowing you personally, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Dan feels the same way, dude. I think you would have been a great dad if that was the case. I think you would have been a great dad. The responsibility, like Dr. Dan brought up a good point, the responsibility you took to make sure that never happened again, I think would have made you the best person in the world.
But let me just add one other thing, which is that, the fact that you chose not to be a dad, it doesn't diminish you at all. You bring all of those great things to other people. Like I said, the empathy you brought to me was much bigger than I felt from most people. So don't think that you're not bringing every bit of that to the world anyway.
I appreciate that.
You're breaking the mold.
and I'm sure there are other guys that don't have kids for, either similar or other reasons that probably feel the same way I did. And, we should let them know that it doesn't diminish them.
Not in the
and
slightest.
There's always someone out there for you. Just look for that right person, But thank you, brother, man. That was a great walk in the walk. Next week, I guess we could talk about it some more and see how you feel about it. I felt you talking today, man, and I want to thank you once again for sharing, man. If any of you guys have any questions for Eric, like I said, comment down below. When you see this, comment down below. If you're watching this right now, please share it with someone that might take it and actually get something from it. Like I always say, just let's keep on talking, and thank you, Dr. Dan. Any final words? Like Jerry Springer's final words? I mean, like Dr.
Listen, the main thing I wanted to get across, I like for the viewers to get something from this, but the main thing that I always want to get across whenever I'm listening to someone else tell their story and how important it is to them, is for them to feel that I heard them and how important it was. And I do feel like maybe it's something that you could, I need to learn more about what it all meant to you, but the main thing I would want to say to you is what I said. It does not diminish you.
And I heard you. I heard you.
And I saw you hear me. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is a great episode, guys, and it's always a pleasure. This is like such a highlight of my week, and
thank you. Likewise.
Love this bonding we're doing. So you want me to take us out like I usually do?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, so we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. But if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we will get back to you personally.
Brothers in arms. Peace.
Brothers in arms.